We left the bottom plateau and began to climb upward, winding through the twisting streets of the Forbidden Temple. The cobbled path beneath our feet was cracked, the stones slick and uneven with moss. Vines coiled around the walls, strangling pillars and gripping statues of nameless gods and spirits. I looked closer. Some of them depicted grotesque hybrids, elves blended with spiders, crows, owls, and snakes. Others were more demonic, almost demoral, with horns spiraling out from skulls and tentacled limbs curving at impossible angles, as though the stone itself rejected their form. The houses they guarded stood tall, weathered but resilient, their rooftops curving into faint arches. Each statue seemed to watch me as we passed, their hollow eye sockets somehow not as empty as they appeared. As we climbed, the air thickened, not just from the incense clinging to every breath, but from something more elusive. Was it the smell of the houses themselves? Maybe. The scent was certainly pungent, heavy in my throat, as though the wood had stood here rotting since the age of the Witch Kings. Come to think of it, that might not even be an exaggeration. But no, it wasn't that. The music, perhaps. Dark and foreboding, drifting from unseen corners. No, of course not. Music doesn't thicken air. Not even ash elves could create sounds that foul. I scowled, irritated that I couldn't understand what was going on in this damn place. In the higher tiers of the temple complex, we passed many female elves. They moved with quiet grace, black robes trailing behind them. Some wore armor like Azhûra and Dhalâra, bug-like and spined, and carried long, slender swords or spears. One group trained in a courtyard, their movements fluid and disciplined. It was like watching a ritual dance. The soft clash of blades echoed. Others knelt in small, rotting gardens, head bowed before shrines, lost in deep meditation. I winced when I noticed some weren't just praying. They were using blades to harm themselves, thin lines of blood streaking down their arms. What is this? A cult of masochists? Ezra's head snapped towards me. Our sisters are meditating on the lessons of the gods, she said, her tone sharp. Zarevan Daral, Legina, and Vexlanka. You shouldn't. Those are not gods, I cut her off. They're made up nonsense. Or worse, Gomorrah. I should not have said that. For a moment, everything went silent. Ezra's face twitched, and Dhalâra, who had been walking ahead, stopped and turned with wide eyes, an expression of complete disbelief. Not gods! Ezra shouted, stepping forward, her face inches from mine. Her breath was hot and sour, her eyes burning with fury. How dare you speak of the Erden like that? You insolent Firaze! She grabbed me by the front of my dress, pulling me closer. I should slit you open right here and feed your guts to the deep ones. Or maybe I'll rip your tongue out and make you chew it to a pulp. You'd be lucky if that was the only punishment for such blasphemy. I once saw Our Lady draw her katana and split an insolent warden in half. One stroke. The bitch's torso slid off before she even knew she was dead. My face twitched as a cold fist of terror clenched at my heart. Ezra noticed it, and her fury twisted into something worse, a twisted smile creeping across her lips. She leaned in, closer. But you know what sticks with me more? She tilted her head, her voice lowering, dripping with twisted pleasure.
That old handseal who had the audacity to claim that Loch Lalesh was better off under the triumvirate.
Her voice was dripping with sick delight.
Azhûra tied him up, and with the powers granted by the Raven Doral, she slowly pulled his backbone out through his bum.
I froze.
Oh, yes,
Ezra said.
One vertebra at a time. Pop, 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 like beads on a string.
She clicked her tongue against her teeth.
Oh, and the screams!
She smiled wider, watching me closely, her eyes devouring the fear in mine.
By the end, there wasn't much left of him. Just a sack of skin and guts crumbled on the floor.
I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay still. But Ezra's words wrapped around my spine, squeezing tight. Could this really be true?
Enough,
Dhalâra said quietly, but the finality in her voice left no room for argument. Ezra backed away, though her eyes, still gleaming with cruel satisfaction, stayed locked on mine. I felt defeated. I had let her see my fear. Now she felt triumphant. Damn her. I forced myself to hold her gaze, though the cold slither of fear and disgust still writhed inside me. The silence that followed was suffocating, broken only by the wet rustling of leaves, the whispered prayers around us, and the eerie hum of music drifting through the air. Dhalâra stepped between us, her gaze brushing mine, just for a moment, then dipping, as though she preferred my cheekbones over my eyes. Tears burned at the back of my eyes, but I forced them back.
Be mindful of your words here,
Dhalâra said, her voice but a murmur.
Especially when it comes to the Erden. Ezra's words are nasty, but there is truth to them.
Despite myself, a tear slipped down my cheek. Still, ever so slightly avoiding my gaze, Dhalâra twisted her lips into an awkward half-smile and placed a hand on my shoulder, giving it a soft squeeze. There was something stiff about it, as though she'd never tried to comfort someone before.
Don't worry,
she said.
Watch what you say when you meet the wielder, and I'm sure you will be all right.
As we continued upward, I kept my thoughts to myself. Wouldn't risk getting another one of Ezra's rebukes. That last one had hit me hard. I still pictured that elf from her story, his spine popping out through his rear end. What kind of monster would do such a thing? Back in the civilized parts of the Empire, at least we only burned the truly horrible people, actual blasphemers, witches, conjurers of Dhalâra. But here, one misstep and you were in for a world of pain. I thought of Mother. Gods, what I wouldn't give to be back in her arms at Castle Lavenhugel. The higher we climbed through this god-forsaken monastery, the more distant the lower plateaus became, fading into shadows. I glanced back once, watching the male elves still working down by the lake, scurrying like ants, piling food onto the tables beneath the willows. The stench of it still clung to my nose. Sludge and decay. Whatever feast they had in mind, I didn't want to be anywhere near it. Finally, we reached the second highest tier of the temple complex. From here, the only thing that stood higher was Azhûra's sanctum itself, looming atop the very peak of the Forbidden Temple. Dark and foreboding above us, Its tiered roofs rose like jagged teeth, disappearing into the blackening clouds. Beneath where we stood, the ground leveled out, and we came before 4 ancient gardens, their gates nearly swallowed by creeping tendrils. Beyond the gates, the twisted shapes of trees loomed, statues barely visible through the gloom, and faint paths disappeared into the darkness like secrets best left buried. I was certain Dhalâra had only mentioned 3 gardens earlier, yet here, clearly, were 4. 2 on each side of the hill on which Azhûra's sanctum stood. Dhalâra turned to me.
Here we are. These are the gardens I spoke of earlier. Each are dedicated to one of the Erden.
She gestured to the left.
The one on the far left is the Garden of Rending Rain, devoted to Zaraven Doral. Next to it, the Garden of Fickle Truths, dedicated to Vex Lankah.
Then she turned to the right.
Next is the Forsaken Garden. That is where you will find Azhûra now, meditating on the lessons of Legina.
I could still hardly believe it. Was I truly at a place of Dhalâra worship? My throat tightened as I recalled the hideous stories from home, and I discreetly traced the outline of a 7-pointed star over my chest, my fingers trembling ever so slightly. The gesture brought no comfort. I shifted my gaze. What about that 4th garden? I asked, nodding towards the one on the far right. Its gate was locked shut, overgrown with twisting roots, impassable. Forget about that one. Ezra cut in. We do not speak of it, and neither should you. I dared a glance at her. Her white-painted face was etched with ominous warning.
Are you ready?
Asked Dhalâra, gesturing toward the gate that led to the Forsaken Garden. Are you not coming with me?
No. Our Lady will see you alone.
I kept my face still, but my heart was pounding harder now. The thought I'd had earlier, that I could somehow reason my way through this, that I could appeal to Azhûra's authority, felt absurd now. I didn't belong here. I wasn't even sure what here was anymore. But I couldn't let them see that. Couldn't let Ezra, Dhalâra, or anyone else know the truth. That fear had wrapped its fingers around my chest, clasping tighter with every step. Not again. Never again. I was Emilia var Lavenkugel, damn it. So, I straightened my back, forcing my legs to move forward, my head held high. Whatever awaited me in that garden, I didn't know. But I had no choice now. There was no escape, only forward. Sometimes, the only way out is through.